Namaskara and hey everyone, I am Samir Kulkarni. A very warm welcome to everyone joining me today. I am truly excited to take you on a fascinating journey through time into the heart of India's most iconic ancient cities, Hampi. Now, most of us associate Hampi with the grand temples, stunning stone architecture, and glorious past. But what often overlooked is the city's incredible, sophisticated water management system. In an era without modern technology, pumps, or lateral system, people of Hampi developed a water infrastructure so intelligent, efficient, and eco-friendly that even today it leaves historians, engineers in a thought. In this video, I am going to unravel how the Vijayanagara kings planned for water conservation, storage, distribution, and ritual use, all while harmonizing with nature. So let's step back in time and discover the wisdom of India's ancient water architecture. Before we dive into the technical details, it's important to understand the setting. Hampi, located in present-day Karnataka, served as capital of the mighty Vijayanagara Empire between 14th century to 16th centuries. This was bustling metropolis housing over 5 lakh residents at its peak. Imagine the enormous water demand for drinking, cooking, bathing, religious rituals, agriculture, and public events. But here's the challenge. Hampi lies in a rocky, semi-arid region where irregular rainfall and limited natural resources. The Tungabhadra River flows nearby, but the land itself is harsh and stony, not naturally suited for storing water. Despite these limitations, the city flourished for centuries because its rulers took water management seriously, integrating it into urban planning, religious life, and community responsibilities. They didn't treat water merely a resource, it was a sacred element, a symbol of prosperity and purity and life source. And because of this, every drop was conserved, honored, and shared thoughtfully. Importance of water management. Now, why was water management so critical in ancient cities and especially in Hampi? Well, in any thriving civilization, water is essential not just for drinking but for agriculture, sanitation, rituals, industries, and public gatherings. In Hampi's case, the demand was even higher because its sheer size and prosperity. The city attracted foreign traders, pilgrims, artists, and dignitaries from across India and even countries like Persia, Portugal, and China. Regular festivals, religious ceremonies, and market meant large crowds constantly gathered, increasing the water demand. Without the reliable and efficient water management system, disease outbreaks, drought-induced famines, and civic unrest could easily destabilize the kingdom. And so, rulers invested heavily in a long-last water infrastructure, and idea modern cities can certainly learn from today. One of the most beautiful aspects of Hampi's water system was its philosophical foundation, rooted deeply in the Indian knowledge system. In traditional Indian thought, water isn't just a utility, it's sacred. It's one of the five Panchamahabhutas, the five elements essential for life: earth, the Prithvi; water, the Jala; fire, the Agni; air, the Vayu; space, the Akasha. This belief shaped how water was treated and managed. It wasn't just about engineering, it was also about spirituality, ecology, and community welfare. That's why you will find sacred tanks called Pushkarinis attached to temples, reserved for rituals like ablutions before prayers or for festivals. Polluting water was seen as a sin. This cultural approach naturally encouraged citizens and maintain water bodies. This participate in cleaning them and protect them from misuse. a concept we rarely see in modern water management system driven purely by utility. Alright, let's now explore the clever components that made Hampi water management system so effective. It was a combination of multiple interconnected structure, each serving a specific function but working together harmoniously. First one is aqueducts. These were long stone built channels that transported water across valleys and rocky terrain. Some of them stretch for kilometers, gently sloping to allow gravity-driven flow. Canals, dug from the Tungabhadra River and nearly streams. These canals distributed water to farmlands, residential areas, and royal enclosures. Pushkarinis. These were aesthetically designed step tanks found near temples, places, and public squares. These collected rainwater flow from canals and stored it for drinking, bathing, and religious use. Check dams, small barriers across seasonal streams, slowed down water flow, creating a small reservoir and recharging groundwater tables. Next one is reservoir. Large open tanks like Kamalapura and Turtu Reservoir stored excess river water and acted as emergency reservoirs during droughts. Underground pipelines. In certain royal complexes, concealed stone pipelines transported water from tanks to baths and fountains. Together, these components formed a decentralized layer system that reduced wastage and ensured a continuous supply even in dry seasons. Cultural and religious significance. It's fascinating how water in Hampi wasn't just for practical use but deeply woven into its cultural and religious life. Temples like Virupaksha, Vithala, and Hazararama were built near Pushkarinis. Before entering the temple, devotees perform ablutions in these tanks to purify themselves. Major festivals like Mahanavami celebrations involved elaborate water rituals. Deities were bathed and taken into grand processions and sacred water bodies. Even marriages, coronations, and royal events often began with water based rituals. These connections ensured that structures were well maintained because they were considered divine. Civic pride and religious duty made the community actively participate in cleaning, repairing, and protecting these water bodies. It was an excellent example of blending infrastructure with a social responsibility. Now let's appreciate the sheer technical brilliance without cement, steel, or electric pumps. Vijayanagara engineers created gravity-fed system by carefully studying a natural land gradients. Aqueducts were built with a precise slope to transport water without wastage. Canals branched out to supply out to farmlands on both sides, and stone embankments prevented flooding. Check dams slowed down streams, directed excess water into reservoir. Rainwater harvesting techniques were evident in how buildings and enclosures had channels to collect and direct water into underground tanks. Materials like granite, locally available and highly durable, were used to construction. Even today the aqueducts and tank remain intact after a century, a testament to their engineering genius and sustainable design principles. Coming to the next, one of the key outcomes of this system was that it allowed farmers to cultivate multiple crops annually. Paddy, sugarcane, cotton, and vegetables were grown abundantly. Orchards with the coconut and betel nut trees flourished and surplus supported trade. Hampi wasn't just a self-sufficient, it became an exporter of grains, textiles, spices, and gemstones. Traders from Europe and Asia arrived at Hampi markets, and this economic Prosperity was directly tied to efficient water management. It created a feedback loop where water ensured good harvests. Good harvest boosted trade, and trade increased civic investment in maintaining water infrastructure. Lessons for modern cities. So, what can we learn today from Hampi? Well, modern cities face water shortages, urban flooding, and groundwater depletion. Instead of relying only on massive centralized system, we can revive traditional methods like rainwater harvesting, community tanks, and check dams and decentralized water management. We can also integrate water infrastructure with the public spaces. Imagine parks with the rain-fed ponds, temples with functional stepwells, and residential colonies with shared tanks. Moreover, like Hampi involving communities in maintenance and creating cultural respect for water can make a huge difference. Ancient wisdom blended with the modern innovation, this way forward for sustainable water management. To conclude, the ancient water management system of Hampi is a shining example of how intelligent design, cultural values, and community participation can solve practical challenges. It wasn't just a set of structures, it was a philosophy of life. The balance between nature and engineering and society ensured Hampi prosperity for centuries, and even today, those lessons remain valuable as we face growing water crisis. Perhaps it's time we took back at our history of for answers, because often the most sustainable solutions have already been tried and tested by ancestors. Thank you so much for joining me exploring the water wisdom of Hampi. I hope this inspired you as much as it inspired me. Thank you.